Welcome back to Newsmax Now. As we're going global, we begin tonight in Thailand, where we follow up to that motorcycle bomb that happened earlier this week. Thai police have issued a sketch of the man suspected of bombing a Bangkok shrine. You can see it right here. Officials describe the suspect as a foreign man, and now they say he may have even had an accomplice. Monday's bombing killed 20 people and injured more than 100 others. Remains of the victims of the Indonesian plane crash were brought to the city of Jayapura. 54 passengers were killed when the plane went down. These remains will be turned over now to the families. Antiquity scholar Khalid Assad is now the latest victim beheaded by ISIS in Syria after he was killed by the militant group. His body was then hanged in the ancient ruins of Palmyra. You're looking at the first of 5 Japanese launches to the International Space Station. The unmanned mission will be supplying to the ISS. And just as Oscar Pistorius was to be released from jail, a South African judge says he will remain right where he is. In a statement, the judge said the parole board was releasing Pistorius before serving 1/6 of his sentence, a requirement by the law.
Back to the Hillary Clinton email scandal, and let's bring in retired Air Force General Michael Hayden, also the former director of the NSA. General Hayden, as always, it's great to talk to you.
Thanks, John.
I heard a radio interview today, and the host was interviewing an internet security expert who said he once had top security clearances in Washington. This expert basically said that what Mrs. Clinton did with her server is the equivalent of leaving a parked Ferrari on the street with the keys inside and unlocked. Is that a fair analogy?
Yeah, it probably is. And look, we're not talking about the casual hacker here, but a determined nation state that was interested in the Secretary of State's emails, and I think there are a lot that fit that description, I think would have the ability to break in and take whatever they needed.
And that was my next question. What would a Chinese hacker or Russian hacker need to know if they knew this kind of email system was outside of a government firewall?
I don't think they'd have to know a great deal other than the kind of general digital reconnaissance that you would have to make to do the kind of cyber espionage that we fear has happened in this case, John. Again, I don't think this is PhD level work unless this small company in Colorado really was cutting edge technologically. If it was just out there kind of a vanilla service provider, I don't think it would present much of a challenge.
Yeah, a far different cry, I think, than a government data center that you probably know a lot about. I want to focus on something specific that Hillary Clinton said yesterday during a quasi-press conference in Las Vegas. Take a listen.
I did not send classified material, and I did not receive any material that was marked or designated classified, which is the way you know whether something is. What you're seeing now is a disagreement between agencies saying, you know what, they should have, and the other saying, no, they shouldn't. That has nothing to do with me. If it had been a government account and I said, release it, we'd be having the same arguments.
Does that distinction really even matter? Shouldn't someone at the level of the Secretary of State know better just by reading an email and be able to determine that it should not be outside a very secure digital space?
Well, John, I think you know, it's the character, it's the content of a message that determines its classification level, not what's on the top or the bottom of the message. And so everyone who has access to classified material needs to be sensitive to that. You know, it's more believable for me when the Secretary said she didn't send anything of a classified nature. I suspect this email account was more often used by her staff to communicate to her. But what she did, John, was she set up a system here whereby the only way the staff could get urgent information to her was through this system, which was not a government system. And there you've got that big gray area where you've actually set up a system of incentives where her staff is more rather than less tempted to go to the edge with regard to classification just in order to get essential information to her. Again, I think the fault here is in the original sin, setting it up this way. Nobody has to be stupid or malevolent going forward to make this end up in a very bad place.
Yeah, one last question for you with a couple seconds left to go. We heard this report that Iran will now be allowed to use its own inspectors to investigate this site, this Parchin site, which a lot of people have accused them of trying to develop nuclear weapons there. This seems like a really bad idea.
It is, and John, it's simply symbolic that we have given up making the Iranians come clean about the previous military dimensions of their program. We know they had one. They've lied about it. We're giving them a hall pass on this and moving on.
It seems like more fuel for the Republicans and those 2 Democrats in the U.S. Senate who want to nullify this Iranian nuclear deal. General Michael Hayden, as always, great to talk with you.
Thanks, John.
All right, stay tuned to Newsmax TV. Much more ahead. Coming up later on Newsmax TV, former Congresswoman Nan Hayworth talks to Prime host J.D. Hayworth about Carly Fiorina, and Dick Morris joins Steve Malzberg to talk about the Hillary Clinton email scandal.
One of our best ever. One of our best ever. People laugh at that idea.
Well, best ever.
We've watched your show. You guys don't try.
And we'll have headlines and punchlines right after this.